Chapter 6. How Are We Trapped? After a while, I heard my friends shouting me, but I didn't run. I stayed where I was with Leela, and we shouted, "Over here, we are here." Within seconds, they came through the trees on Sally, and Joe jumped off and gave me the biggest hug I ever had of anyone. "What are you doing here, and can I present Leela Wildheart?" I said to my friends, and their reply was, "We came for you because we love you and wanted to see you and say that we are sorry." I ran straight for them when I tripped and said sadly and angry, "Please, is there a cure to the course inside me, Leela? What is happening to Sally and the twins? Have they been infested with the course as well as me? Leela, talk to me, please help us." I looked around and saw that Leela was trying to block the sound of the course. When it came to me, I had already blocked the sound by using my hat. I ran to Sally and then jumped on top of her back. We sat on Sally's back and sprinted into camp. That fast I couldn't let go of my hat in case it blew off through the wind. When we finally made it back to the camp, the first thing I did was go to Jane, who was in my hut lying on my bed, but I didn't mind. The second thing I did was go and find the other twin, Jill. When I was walking around, I noticed two paws hanging off the edge of a tree. It was Jill. With a gasp, I shouted, "How the hell did you get down there, you clumsy cat? Here, pass me your paw and I'll pull you up. Come on." In a split second, I had my sister's paw in mine, and with one great pull, Jill was up on the tree at last. She said happily, "Thank you, sis. How can you be so strong?" I replied carefully. "I had some help from my new friend Leela. I was found with her when the others came looking for me. I was with my uncle after I finished telling Jill what happened with me and Leela with the sound of the course that attacked us earlier today, just a few miles away from the camp. Suddenly I had a very sharp pain in the side of my body. It was the right side where I fell over. It started to suddenly and mysteriously bleed. I didn't want the others to know, so I just put a load of bandages on and walked around like I was okay and very well. When it came to lunch, I sat down and the bandages came off, and a puddle of blood came underneath my feet, and I fell over and fell asleep. When I awoke in Leon's emergency room, I said in surprisement, "How did I get here, Leon?" I saw a shadow. It looked like Leon, but when it turned around, I saw a crocodile over the top of me. I squinted and said, "What have you done with Leon? Have you killed him?" By this time I was drowsy. He turned around again and in a croaky voice said, "No, no, my dear, I am his friend here. I am called Croc Dude, and this is my room for helping you. It seemed you cut open your tissue, and it had some kind of tracker logged in it. So if I was you, get your friends off of that tree, and quick before the bad animals go and turn them into what they are, because of the course of the Forbidden Island." By the time it turned nightfall, I lost load of my crew. Well, who were left anyway. When I turned around, I saw my own sister, Jill, one of the twins, was gone again. I looked up, it started to snow heavily, so I got everyone left together and said, "Everyone, I know we have lost a lot of people just at the start of this dangerous journey, but we need to try and find my sister starting tomorrow. But right now we are going to get into our huts and think about what we are going to do to try and find Jill and the others. Oh yes, and with your supplies you can have a few people in your huts, a maximum of 3, so go on, good night." As soon as I was finished, I headed to my hut, where I found Jane, Joe, and Uncle George in there, and then I sat on my bed and felt something under my bottom. I stood up and reached down and picked up a piece of paper and a picture. When I opened the piece of paper, and it had a picture of my family, and it had 3 crosses on my mum, dad, and now my younger sister Jill. It said, "We have your sister, dad, and mum, so if you want them, meet us at the waterfall. If you don't, we shall come and pick you all off one by one. You have been warned. Please come alone, otherwise we shall kill your family, the crew left, and the people who have come with you. And we mean this, so you better be careful out there." I suddenly sat down and started to cry. The people in my hut said, "What? What does it say?" I passed the note to Joe, and he understood why I was crying. He whispered in my ear, "Would you like to have some time alone to talk to me or your family who are left?" I replied, sobbing, "I would like it if I could have everyone who is left to close up their huts, and don't let anyone out of them, not even the people in their friends' huts, like a sleepover, and do not let anyone know where I have got early tomorrow morning." I went to the other's hut, and said to each one as quickly as I could, before I turned into a giant snowcat or snowball. When I came back to my hut, I noticed that the others were in their pyjamas and sleeping bags, so I said, "So I take it you want to sleep with me tonight?" They all nodded, and so when the hours ticked by, we had our dinner, and we settling down to go to bed. Not much happened through the night, we just slept as babies, but I kept waking up because I was having nightmares of my family, friends, and my awesome crew being taken from me and killed right in front of me. After I woke up early in the morning, I went to go to the toilets and got changes quietly while the rest of my crew was still fast asleep. Once I was done, I tiptoed back to my hut where I found Lucy, George, and Joe up, and by the look of it ready to go out, I said in surprise and quietly, "What are you all doing up and awake at this time? And you know why I'm, so just go bed." Suddenly I heard a screeching and shaking voice say, "Please, Daisy, please help us." And then in a familiar voice say, "Yes, Daisy, come and save them, but you're running out of time, so hurry up, you stupid puss in boots." I walked to the door and turned the knob, but then heard a voice behind me, and it was a soft, unconflating sound, a meow if you like. "Please, Daisy, please, can't you just stay here, please?" I turned down with a tear dripping down my face and said, "Well, my lovely girl, I have to go to save my family and all of you because I care and love you all. Just please stay here and be safe with the rest, okay?" I put my arms out and nudged my head to Jane so she could give me a hug, and within 5 minutes I had a group of 5 people from my hut hugging me like that was the last time they would see me. I finally got out of the group and opened the door quietly and waved behind me to the people in my hut, and whom I told, "Go back to bed, go on you 3." While smiling, I slid down the vines and onto the very light green grass, which was very soft after walking along hard and stiff ground. Once I reached the ground, I got out the piece of paper, and then read where I had to meet the people who have nicked my family and friends. I started to look around me at the trees and bushes, and saw the other animals under someone's or thing's control, sitting there and watching me as I made my way through the other side of the island. I stopped a few times to hear what those horrible things were saying, and they said, "We have her now, Daisy is done for, ha ha ha." They laughed at me as I walked on through the jungle island. Finally I made it to the beach, where I found that my mother, father, and one of my twin sisters, Jill, tied up with the big green vines. I looked around and saw no one. I ran towards my family in need and got my sword out to get my family free. Within 2 minutes I got them free, but when I went to go and give them a hug, they vanished into thin air, and then I heard someone clap, and then the fight started. I looked around and saw a figure in the distance, where I started the quest at the first place. I thought that I knew what the person was. Suddenly I heard a screeching and shaking voice say, "Please, Daisy." I'm not